Hello, this is Shelley Ungerank. This is another episode of Shelley Makes It Happen. I am an agent, a real estate agent at Heartland Realty in DeSoto, and I'm going to talk to you today a little bit about a manufactured home versus a modular home. This is a question that's asked a lot of real estate agents about the differences and how they're marketed and different loan types. So the main difference I'm going to tell you between, and sometimes it's hard to tell by looking, but a modular home is something that you can do a loan on just like a stick-built home. And it's brought to the property, it's built elsewhere in modules and then brought to the property and assembled whenever they get it to the property. So that's why it's a modular home. It comes in modules, okay? And again, a loan on a modular home is just like any other home, so there's no difference loan-wise. Now, the manufactured homes are also manufactured, obviously, somewhere else, but they come already put together, and then they're put on the property whenever someone buys a piece of property and buys a manufactured home, it's brought there by trailer and set onto the property already assembled. So the big difference whenever you're trying to figure out which you've got, if you're doing a listing, let's say, and you're trying to, confirm which one you have, the absolute difference between them is that modular homes do not have HUD tags. Manufactured homes do. And you'll usually find those in the kitchen cabinets. Sometimes you'll find them where the electric box is at, the fuse box, or underneath. There's always a plate on one of the corners of the trailer that gives you the HUD tag numbers. So if something has a HUD tag, it is absolutely a manufactured home. Doesn't matter if it's on a basement, it makes no difference whatsoever. It's still a manufactured home. So if you have a HUD tag, that means you have a title, just like a car has a title. So it is essentially personal property, and then you can do what's called an affixation. And you have to do that. That was not always the case. So people that have maybe owned manufactured homes, this will be new to them because this is relatively, I don't know the exact year, but I'm going to say maybe 10 years ago, something of that nature, that you had to start doing what we call affixations. So the big difference, or not the only, there's a lot of differences, but title wise, and this is very important if you buy a manufactured home and you're going to get a loan on it, it has to be affixed. And I don't mean physically, it has nothing to do with the physical placement of the trailer and whether or not it's affixed to a basement. That has nothing to do with it. This is an affixation. It's a paperwork that you do at the Department of Revenue. You go down, just work like you would do your car title. You go down and you have to, an affixation means you're affixating that title to the deed legally. And then the title is now going to be basically dead at the DMV. It's no longer personal property. So in many, many cases, in most cases, people are paying real estate taxes on their manufactured home that is on their property. Therefore, they don't understand why they have to do this. But the big reason that your lender is going to want you to do an affixation across the board, any lender is going to want you to do this affixation, and they will not close without it. So you have to get this done. You surrender the title at the DMV, you affix it to your deed. Therefore, that manufactured home can never be moved unless you do what's called an unaffixation, which is also done on the same website. If you go to the website of, and I'm in Missouri, so the Missouri Department of Revenue, and you look up an affixation, an affidavit of affixation is what it's actually called, or an unaffixation. So let's just say you have someone that buys some property and there's a manufactured home on it, and they want that manufactured home to be moved. They didn't even want it for whatever reason, or they want to sell it. The only way it can legally be moved is if you do the unaffixation. You take it back to personal property, take it off of the deed of the property, so that it's a paperwork work trail that now is required for you to do. So that is something a lot of people that list manufactured homes don't realize they have to do, and it can hold up a lot of closings if you don't get that paperwork done. So that's the main thing I wanted to talk to you about today. Secondly, I'll just say a lot, what you should know about a manufactured home if you're a buyer is not all lenders do loans on manufactured homes. Depending on the age of the manufactured home and whether it's a single wide or a double wide, there'll be a lot of variations of what loan officers, even the ones that do them, in other words, don't do all of them, depending on age. And again, there's a lot of variations of what loan officers will do. So when you go to look at one, you need to know the age of it and whether it's a single wide or a double wide, and talk to your lender about what options you really have. Most of the time, if you do a single wide, lenders that I have spoken to will pretty much always just do ARMs. They'll do adjustable rates on that type of a situation. So that's something that you really need to talk to your lender about. Even if you're pre-approved to buy a house, it doesn't always mean that you can do a manufactured home with that lender and whatever loan type you're planning to do. There is a difference. So you need to, that is a conversation that you need to have with your lender before you get too far into it. The other thing I guess I will say about a manufactured home is, and this just happened to me once, so this is just kind of a word to the wise, something to think about. If you happen to be buying one and it is on a lot of land, and I mean it has to be several acres, but let's say you're buying a farm with 100 acres, just for example, and there's a manufactured home on it, and you think you're planning to do like a residential home loan because maybe you're going to live in the manufactured home, obviously. So what happened in one of my situations is the actual 100 acres of the land that was being bought actually is worth more than the manufactured home, depending on the age of the manufactured home. So if you get into a situation like that, you will then be doing a land loan. So that's a whole different type of situation, and something for you to kind of keep in mind, that the land value cannot supersede the value of the manufactured home, or again, your loan type is going to change and you're going to be looking at a different scenario. So those are things to just kind of keep in mind, some general questions I hope I've answered about manufactured homes and modular homes. Something you definitely want to talk about with your agent and your lender if you're planning to buy one or list one. Thank you again for tuning in to Shelley Makes It Happen.